Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. Welcome if you are new here. My name is Jen, and in today's video we are diving into the books that I've read in the first half of August. Before we get started with the few books that I've read in the first half of August, I do want to address the elephant in the room. I'm just kidding. As of August the 14th, which was just a few days ago, I officially hit my 1 year on YouTube, which I just find amazing. I honestly did not think that I would make it a year. I wasn't quite for sure when I started this channel if I would like to do it, if I would stick with it, if I would get anything out of it. I mean, I love reading books. I needed an outlet when I started this channel, and I wanted to find like-minded people who like to read the same kinds of things that I did and really just wanted to spend their time ranting and raving about the plethora of books that we do read. So I quickly just want to say a huge thank you to every single person who has liked, commented, shared, subscribed on social media, followed me here. You have truly made this year absolutely amazing, and I can't wait to see what kinds of fun things that we come up with in the years to come. So thank you very much. I'm off my soapbox. Let's get on to what I've read in August. Okay, first things first, I finally did it. I finally finished the Off Balance series. I rolled into this month needing to read the fourth book, Twist, and then finish it off with Dismount, which I did. I knew that it was going to take me extra time to read this series. It's a heavy series. It's very emotional on many accounts, but I'm beating a dead horse at this point, but I was also annotating it, and it being like one of my favorite series, if not my favorite series of all time, like there's just a lot to annotate. So that takes time to do. I just didn't think it was going to take as much time as it did, but I'm so glad that I have my physical copies, or this edition of the physical copies, annotated. I mean, it's safe to say that I loved it just as much the first time, maybe just a little bit more the second time, because I had certain things that I knew. Twist has one of my favorite scenes in it. If you know, you know. But Dismount will forever hold the title of just the most emotional of the series. I could probably open it up to any point that I've annotated and start crying. Like, that's how emotional it is. Everything comes to a head in this one. Everything that we've been dealt with through the past 4 books, it all comes to a head. I feel like I'm right there on the floor with Rhea during her meet, especially in this one. Girl is on fire, and it's like, I mean, like, Lucia writes it in such a way I can absolutely see it. There is Avery, who is best friend goals. There is Kova, who just has learned to completely express his emotions, and it is such a beautiful thing. And then there's Rhea, who irritates me throughout the entire series and finally starts to evolve a little bit, grow up a little bit, mature a little bit, and take ownership of herself. And this is just, it's why it has cemented itself as my favorite series. So there it is, my babies. Then I read The Man Upstairs by Jade West. I was really looking forward to this book. It was very high on my TBR. I could not wait to get into it. It did let me down a little bit, but let me explain. So first, trigger warnings on this one, guys. Not only is it a huge age gap of 30 years, but extreme BDSM. There is talk of abuse, emotional, substance abuse, physical abuse, and there is the degradation trope as well, which I am typically not a huge fan of. I don't mind a little bit of it, but in this extreme measure, it can turn me off a little bit. But I will say this about it. Even though there is extreme degradation, and I know that this is going to sound weird, it's all wrapped up in love. You can tell that the 2 main characters have this immense connection, and that shows through in their sexual scenes when there is degradation present. It's all done in love. I know that sounds weird, but also our hero, she's here for it. Like, she wants more of it. She really gets off on that. But let's take a step back here for a second. So this follows Rosie and Julian. It's set in Ireland, and they live in like estates, and the place that they live in is not the best as far as safety and is a little on the poorer side. Rosie lives there with her mother, who is in a really shitty relationship with a really abusive, shitty man. And one night when he is beating up her mother, she runs upstairs to the man that everybody has said stay away from. He is no good. He should be in jail for the things that he has done. Gossip being what it is, but she has nobody to turn to and nobody else will help her. So she runs up there, and he's the first person to actually help her, runs down and stops her mother's boyfriend from attacking her anymore. That is basically how the story starts. He, of course, has noticed her around, but has stayed away from her, but becomes very protective of her very quickly, and she pursues him. She has this connection with him as well and wants to pursue that. She makes it known that she wants a relationship with him. The thing is, with me, and why it kind of fell short for me, was I will say that the writing in this was spectacular. I would absolutely read something else by Jade West in the future. Everything is so well descripted, even the sex scenes, and those are very descriptive and very thought out and planned. But I'd say around page, I don't know, like 300 or so, like I was honestly like bored with it. I was ready for the story to get on with itself, and I still had, 200 pages left. There are a few subplots, or a couple subplots, that I was really interested in seeing like how that would pan out, so I wanted to continue reading. But as far as the sexual degradation scenes went, like I just was, after about 4 or 5 very descriptive scenes, I was like, okay, I'm bored. I felt like they were basically the same scenes except for different props thrown in here and there. And don't get me started on the props. Let's move on. After a certain point, I felt like they were just there for shock value, just to see how crazy and degrading that we could go, which it definitely was there. However, I do want to circle back to my previous point. This book is very well written. It constantly held my interest. I didn't think it needed to be that long, but ultimately I did enjoy it. I did end up giving this one a 3.5 stars, and I gave it a 5 stars for spice, because damn. Then I picked up another book that I was really excited to read. Not only did the premise really excite me, but the cover. Like, the cover got me hook, line, and sinker. It was absolutely gorgeous, and I know they say don't judge a book by its cover, but I totally did here, and it made me want to read this book. Then I found out that it's like a rock star romance, which I was kind of in the mood for. There is a little bit of substance abuse and physical abuse. It's like a childhood, friends to lovers, second chance romance. I said rock star. Cinnamon Roll Hero. And there's a Cinnamon Roll Hero, which we're gonna circle back around to that in just a second. But this one follows Levi and Savannah. Definitely a opposites attract. Whereas she comes from the wrong side of the tracks. Her mom is a drug addict and known around town as a prostitute, and he comes from a very religious family. His father is a pastor. His mom is a little bit extreme. That's an understatement. His mom is extreme when it comes to religion. She is not very forgiving or gracious as you would think one would be. That's all I'm going to say about that. But I think when the book starts, they're around like 15 years old, and Savannah has just had enough of the physical abuse, and she sees what will happen to her if she stays in this town with her mom and her very abusive boyfriend any longer. So she decides to just run away. I'm better off being on my own than being what I might become and what might happen to me if I stay on this path. So she ups and leaves in the middle of the night. She does say bye to Levi and says, don't worry, at some point, like, we'll see each other again, I'm sure of it. And that's the last that he sees of her until they are about 18. He is in college. I think he's like on spring break or something like that. His friends coax him into going to a strip club, and don't you know who's dancing? That would be Savannah. And it is like no time has passed between these two, and they pick up right where they left off, except now Levi isn't as shy as he was before. He's a little bit more aggressive, still cinnamon roll, but he's coming to his own. You know, he's out of under his mother's very religious thumb, and he's able to be himself. But as it happens, as such with life, something happens and it derails all the plans that they've set in motion, and something separates them. And now we jump about 7 to 8 years in the future, where she has become this really famous rock star, but she's taking a break from her rock band to film a movie, and that movie is being filmed in a small beach town very close to where her and Levi grew up, and she knows that he lives there with his daughter. There you go. Really enjoyed this book. This was my first read from Britt Benson. Will definitely not be my last. I will tell you one thing about the cinnamon roll. If all cinnamon roll heroes are like Levi, then sign me up, because cinnamon roll hero on the streets, dirty talker in the sheets. Yes, I didn't think that I liked cinnamon roll heroes until I met Levi. Really did enjoy this book, but I will say this. I did read this around the beginning of the month, and certain things are getting a little hazy for me. Like, I couldn't put this book down, but now I'm forgetting certain things. That could just be me. I don't know, but I definitely enjoyed the dirty talk. I ended up giving this one a 4 stars, and I gave it a 3 stars for spice. And the last book that we're going to talk about today is the book that I read for our buddy read that I do every month with myself, Amber from Amber Reads Romance, and Mandy and Jessica from Bestie Book Reviews. I will leave their channels linked down below, as well as the live if you missed it this past Sunday, where we talk all about Minx and a few other things. But if you want to hear all of our thoughts on it, definitely go check that out. I will give you a little bit of a play-by-play here. So, dual POV. This follows Ramses and Blake, and I think that this is Sophie Lark's first toe dip into pet play. This is Sophie Lark, you guys, so all of her books are like super easy for me to dive into. I think I've mentioned this before, like she is a very good palate cleanser for me. I know that I can just enter any of her books and immediately get swept up. I don't have to really think. Sometimes I'll go into a book and I don't mind it being very descriptive, and I really have to like keep my brain going so that I can remember what's going on and just keep on track. But other times I don't. I just want to read. I want to be mindless. I want to read and fall into it. And that's what happens with Sophie Lark's books. I just lose myself. That happened with this one. However, one main problem that I had was conflict, meaning there really was none. It was kind of insta-lovey, which I'm not a big fan of. I don't mind it, but like, let there be a little bit of conflict. Ramses and Blake see each other. He immediately has to have her, and being the billionaire that he is, you know, he has the funds and means to do whatever he wants, and he gets a date and catches her attention by putting $3 million in her bank account, which, I mean, absolutely works, but then he just becomes a little obsessive and possessive over her. She knows who he is, obviously, because he is in the finance world, and she aspires to be as well. But I was always waiting for something to happen. I was waiting for that conflict to arise, even like a miscommunication or something, but nothing. It was, they got together and then they were just together. And I think maybe it was because Sophie wanted to play a little bit on this pet play. I think she did that pretty well, as far as I'm not a big pet play person either. Like degradation, it's not really my thing. It's not something that I'm gonna shy away from. Definitely was interested in reading Minx because A, it's Sophie Lark, and I will read anything she puts out, and I like the way that she explores certain things, so I was curious to see how she would do this, and she definitely explores it in a different way, as being a little bit different than some of the other pet play scenes that I've seen. So I definitely enjoyed that. Ultimately, I enjoyed it, but I wanted more. I wanted more. I did end up giving this one a 4 though. I gave it a 3 stars for spice. If you watched our live video, or I'll give you a little preamble, it is a pity 4. It really should be about a 3.5 for me, but because I just love Sophie Lark, I bumped it up a little bit. I know Mandy bumped it up a little bit too. I think everybody bumped it up a little bit. So she getting 4 pity stars from a lot of us, but you know, we love you, so we're gonna do that. But yeah, Let me know if you read it and let me know what you think about it. That is all the books that I've read so far in August. It's not a lot, but I will say I'm really excited for the second half of August because I was looking through the books that I have on my TBR, and I know of like a few off the top of my head that I'm really, really excited to get into. One that I have just started, which is Until I Get You by Claire Contreras. So far, so good, but I'll let you know everything at the end of the month. And there's just a couple other ones that I'm really, really excited to get to. So I'm going to end this video and I'm going to start reading. Let me know down in the comments what you're currently reading. Do you like it? Do you not like it? Should I read it? Let me know. I hope you enjoyed today's video. If you did, you know the drill. Please like, comment, and subscribe before you leave, and I will see you soon. But until next time, happy reading. Bye.